Okay, hello everyone. So today I would like to explain Chapter 6, Assessing Listening from Language Assessment Book by Douglas Brown. So let's get started. Okay, so observing the performance of the four skills. Okay, the process of the listening performance itself is the invisible and audible process of internalizing meaning from the auditory signals being transmitted to the ear and brain. The product of listening and reading is not the spoken or written response. The product is within the structure of the brain, and until teachers carry the later MRI scanners to detect meaningful intake. The productive skills of speaking and writing allow us to hear and see the process as it is performed. And then the importance of listening. One reason for this emphasis is that listening is often implied as a component of speaking. How could you speak language without also listening? In addition, the overtly observable nature of speaking renders it more empirically measurable than listening. And every teacher of language knows that one's oral production ability other than monologues, speech, reading aloud, and the like is only as good as one's listening comprehension ability. And then the basic types of listening. There are four commonly identified types of listening performance. First is intensive, listening for perception of the components like phonemes, words, intonation, discourse markers, and etc. of a larger stretch of language. And then responsive, listening to a relatively short stretch of language, like reading, question, command, comprehension check, and etc in order to make an equally short response. And then we have selective. This is processing a stretch of discourse such as short monologues for several minutes in order to scan for certain information. And then extensive. This is listening to develop a top-down global understanding of spoken language. And then we move into the micro and macro skills of listening. So for the micro skills, for the example, is discriminate among the distinctive sounds of English, retain chunks of language of different lengths in short-term memory, and then recognize English stress patterns, words in stress and unstressed positions, rhythmic structure, intonation, contours, and their role in signaling information, and many more. And then for here, the macro skill is recognize the communicative functions of utterances according to situation, participation, and goals. And then info situations, situations, goals using real-world knowledge, and then from events, ideas, and so on, describe predict outcomes, info links, and connection between events, deduce causes and effect, and detect such relation as a main idea, supporting idea, the information, given information, generalization, and simplification, and many more. And then designing assessment tasks, intensive listening. Here we have recognizing phonological and morphological elements. A typical form of intensive listening at this level is the assessment of recognition of phonological and morphological elements language. The example you can see here, the phonemic pair consonants and also the morphological pair ED ending. And then here we have a paraphrase recognition. The test step up on the scale of listening comprehension's micro scales is words, phrases, and sentences. Here we have the example from the sentence paraphrase and also the dialogue paraphrase. And then a question and answers format can provide some interactivity in this lower and listening task. The test taker's response is the appropriate answer to the question. Share appropriate respond to a question. The objective of this item is recognition of the WH questions, how much, and its appropriate response. Distractors are chosen to represent common learner errors. The A is responding to how much versus how much longer, and then C conversing how much in reference to time versus the more frequent references to money, and that the T is convincing WH questions with yes or no questions. And then we move into the designing assessment task for selective listening. Here, the test takers listens to a limited quantity of oral input and must discern within it some specific information. First, we have listening clues. This is requires a test taker to listen to a story, monologue, or conversation and simultaneously read the written text in which selected words or phrases have been collated. The example that you can see in the picture is such a shortcoming was avoided by conversing only on the criterion of number. Test takers hear an announcement from an airline, airline agent and see the transcript with the underlined words deleted. And then also we have an information transfer. This is when orally processed information must be transferred to a visual representation such as labeling a diagram, identifying an element in a picture, completing a form, or showing routes on a map. The example here illustrates the need for the test takers to focus on just the relevant information. And then designing assessment tests for extensive listening. The examples of extensive listening are, here we have a dictation. Here, test takers hear a passage, typically 50 until 100 words, recited 3 times, first at normal speed, then with long pauses between phrases or natural word groups, during which time test takers write down what they have just heard, and finally at normal speed once more so they can check their word and proofread. And then we have a communicative stimulus response. Here, the test taker is presented with a stimulus monologue of conversation and then is asked to respond to a set of comprehension questions. You can see the example through the pictures here. And then we have authentic listening test. Every test requires some components of communicative language ability, and no test covers them all. Similarly, with the notion of authenticity, every task shares some characteristic with target language task, and no test is completely authentic. Here we have note-taking. The process of scoring is time-consuming or a loss of practicality, and because of the subjectivity of the point system, it lacks some reliability. The gain is offering students an authentic task that mirrors exactly what they have been focusing on in the classroom. And then we have editing. This is another authentic task, provides both a written and a spoken stimulus and requires the test taker to listen for discrepancies. Scoring achieves relatively high reliability as there are usually a small number of specific differences that must be identified. And then we also have an interpretive task. One of the intensive listening tasks described above was paraphrasing a story or conversation. An interpretive task extends the stimulus material to a longer stretch of a discourse and forces the test takers to infer and response potential stimuli include, for example, song lyrics, recited poetry, and then a radio or television news reports, and an oral account of an experience. And then the last is retelling. In a related task, the takers listen to a story or news event, simply retell it or summarize it, either orally or an audio tape or in writing. In doing, the takers must identify the gist, the main idea, the purpose, supporting point, and or conclusions to show full comprehensions. Okay, so that's all about the chapter 6. Thank you for your attention and see you.